So today, I'll get you through some of my personal and professional journey, rather than, I would say, achievement. Nothing to be achieved. Still, we are thriving to achieve. So there are hiccups and some sweet memories also. So I want to share. If it gets inspired, I'm happy for that. And if you have something that so you would have taken a different path that would have been much better, I'm happy to hear that critics also, because that I give a more respect to that. And you will get to know through my some of the pictures and stories of my research. Why I said it as an entrepreneurial journey with science, because after my studies, whatever I was working, still it was related to what I learned. um, and everyone has a passion to do the same thing. Sometimes survival to the fittest, we might change our track. Of course, I did slightly change a track, and which I'll be sharing it with you all. So I just wanted to make it very clear. The slide contains pictures and videos of my friends, colleagues, and others. So I have intimated the usage, and please do not share or cite without the consent, because pictures something that we have to look at with data privacy. I really like to thank, before starting any of my sharing my views and my stories. Like, I understand it's mostly the um, passing out students of B Farm and mostly PG students in pharmacy. So I would like to thank my parents and my wife, who was very great support in understanding my difficulties or hardships, or even when we were trying to achieve something in life for the next turning point. And especially my mom and my wife, because uh, after my marriage, within 45 days, I floated in to support me with family life and my PhD research career. And one of the most important people I'm going to thank is basically the people who said no to me. Last time when I was discussing this, I came to know what is the meaning of no, next opportunity. But I didn't know when they were telling me this no to me anyway. But all the criticisms, feedbacks, and people who said whenever I apply something or no to me, that urged and helped me to find what is something missing in me, or what I have to find something else that I have to overcome, that to know from no to maybe or to yes. So that is where I used to thank in my life, because if I am somewhere, at least somewhere, it is because of those people, because they identified what is a weakness in me, or what I'm missing in something that I have to achieve with the knowledge or experience, and they helped me to realize that. That is where we wanted to understand our talents or what we are missing. Only from people who tell us what we are missing, there we realize where we are good at and what we are not good at. Right? So take these no's and criticism much more positively, and give a positive enthusiasm to you, so that you have to work and brush up in that particular area. And I also thank all my teachers, guides, supervisors, and well wishers who helped me a lot and mentored me a lot. And all my students and interns, especially interns, of course, I'm learning many things from them, because when they ask questions, sometimes we might not over gone through that particular reasonings. Of course, we still dig into back to our books or journals or literatures to understand, okay, how can I answer this question? So learning a lot from my students and interns is really helping me. So my recent upskilling is just because of my interns. All my colleagues, motivators, and inspirators, and all my friends and acquaintances, and also people who trusted me and also gave opportunities to me, because opportunities also help you to learn more. So at the age of 40s and 50s, still people are upskilling, and this was a right time for upskilling, mainly because you're sitting at home, being more objected to online learning and teaching. Too much of content you have. Only thing you have to find out interest, patience, and time to learn them. And all my clients, because clients also has their own challenges where we have to again find out solutions to them. So as an entrepreneur, you have to find solutions for the problem. Let it be any problem. If you're able to do it, agree to it. If you're not able to do it, admit that you cannot do it rather than over promising it. When I'm going through some of my academic journey, you have to see the transition of my interest. So during my 10th, I dreamt about UPSC. Okay, tried once, nothing worked out. Then during my plus two, tried buying a PC, started tutoring kids, and then dreamt about computer engineer. But then there was something neat like exams, and I didn't go through merit. Ended up doing biochemistry, and then later I started exploring with my project, and I came interested with bioinformatics. I was still happy. Okay, even I need to become a computer engineer, but now I was able to choose something still related to computers, but again with biological applications. And then survival to the fittest. Even though I was a, I think I should not oversell myself. Still, I was a first rank holder for MSc Bioinformatics in the university, Bharathidasan University. But I was being given like a scholarship for monthly to if I join as a PhD. Because of the commitments and others, I have to reject it and I have to choose a job. But I went for a job, then I found that there's a requirement of MPhil to be a lecturer. So, so the circumstances made me to take some of the courses, but still we have to go forward. So 1.5 years worked as a lecturer, then I started changing my track. In between, I worked for around 6 years, and then only I went for my PhD. And there I decided where I want to focus, what I want to go, rest of my life, where I need to really focus on to upskill myself. And that's where the research journey also intended to start, because I was working for Axelrus partners and also back in Mumbai, and then started that, okay, I should start doing my PhD, only because I started giving presentations and in conferences and all during 2006. Back then, in 2007, I was invited to an international conference at Cochin, and one of the organizer was introducing me, and he just said, I have a PhD and I have 3 publications and many other things. I was feel a little bit bad. Come on, I don't have a PhD. I don't have publications. Then why am I making, or why other people are just telling me about this being I need to match as per the other fellow speakers? There I decided now I have to leave my job. So I left a job where I was earning around 53,000 per month, and I have to leave that job and then join as a project fellow in University of Kerala as an IGNO project fellow to design course and take care of lab practices, and later join as a PhD student there. But things didn't work out, and then I started applying for fellowships and others, and I was being supported by USDA ARS funding through University of Florida. So I carried out my research, learned how to write papers initially, and there was a lot of cultural shock and etc. I'll share that a few things later. And then went to University of Tartu, Estonia, with a research fellowship, and carried out research on designing compounds, basically on Parkinson's disease, and much more with significance. And also later got a Marie Curie fellowship with Molcode, again, continuation of that research on Parkinson's disease to identify lead molecules. Then came back to India. I was anyway, went to US and Europe thinking that I have to come back to India. I don't want to stay there. Of course, it is easy for me to get a green card with my professor who is having a lot more experience there. And many of my colleagues who have been staying there already got green card and they're staying there, who are Indians. I also have that opportunity, but I don't want, because I don't want to come back to India. Tried a lot of opportunities in academia, nothing worked out. Some they didn't even let me know that you're selected or not selected. What is the reason? Nothing. No response. Then I understood there is something else required based on. So that's why I recommend most of the students now, if you want to work in India, try to do your PhD and higher studies in India if you still want to be very live and active on an academic research. Otherwise, it's fine. So then I ended up starting a company, and I'm also a research advisor to Vellore Institute of Technology, and I have a PhD student as a co-guide. And also founded Shastra, and working as a visiting researcher at Nairo Research, where we are looking at projects with more reliability and reproducibility. The professional journey started from during my school days itself. Like when I'm doing my plus two studies, I was helping my dad, who was into advertisements and all in later stage. But in early 70s, he was into manufacturing the two-wheeler parts, basically Bullet, Royal Enfield. But later, when I was also grown up, I started helping with designing, branding, even sales. I used to go to meet customers and to just make them understand what is their requirement and then meet them, and was trying to help him a lot. And then he was more focused and visionary that he sent me to an accountant to learn about accounting. I really don't know because I was more focusing on a biology, but still he when me asked me to go to accounting to learn about it. But to be honest, I should thank him because that's accounting has helped me a lot when I'm now running with a business, because there are many startup founders might not have any clue about what are the compliances, taxation, accounting, how things to be tackled. So that is the main challenges many startup entrepreneurs or even founders may have issues. So initially they make mistakes, they make contact the consultants and get it done. Anyway, so later after my master's, joined as a lecturer, again a daily learner, because students used to ask questions. We cannot say no or I don't know, we have to face it. So basically a daily learner. So if you want to bit more learn out of the box, become the lecturer first. And I appreciate and I also thank all the professors and lecturers around, because they are much daily learner than the students who they are going to teach. And then joined as a support specialist at Accelerate Partner. And I was being rejected for the job initially because they said, you're overqualified. We are looking for a support guy who can travel and also who can do more on Linux, Solaris. But you're already masters and you're being a lecturer, so you're overqualified. So I was being rejected back in Bangalore anyway. I was rejected, and then I was going back. When I was very close to the bus stop to board my bus, I got a call. Giri, come back. We want to discuss further. So when I went back, they offered me the job, and I was so happy. And it was a more learning experience to understand what is the expectations of the scientific community. So that's where we were using GCG package for the sequence analysis. And later we had a Discovery Studio 2.5. That time it was 2.5 version. So slowly I started learning them and many more. So having a lot of interactions with customers and a research community in India, that has given me more ideas about, yes, I have to proceed with research. And then joined as a research scholar at University of Florida. In between, I joined in Mumbai, worked in Mumbai, back in University of Kerala as a project fellow, and then joined as a research scholar. A lot of cultural shock because the first day I went and called my professor, who is 86 years old, sir, or like that. So then he said, Giri, I know in India you call and address as sir and madam, but not here. You just call me Alan. That's fine. So there I learned how to say no. For example, if he's giving me some job, here we basically don't say no to everybody, right? We think offended or so mean. But I understood the value of saying no to something. Because if you're already occupied with some work, and when some extra work is given, and when you say no, of course it feel offended, but you're showing yourself being productive to the work that is currently you have. Now, if you're taking all the work with you, ultimately you won't be able to make it more productive, and you might not be able to submit on time. So I was so shocked to see when my lab mates and my seniors are saying no to professor. Professor, when he asked, "Can you do this?" He said, "No, I am already occupied." But it is quite not normal to me at that time. So later, at almost 4 years passed on, I slowly started saying no. But they were very positive to it because they welcomed it. They understood that you're busy with something. So that means you will be not able to deliver it on time. That's why you said no. Otherwise, they find out the reasons there. So there are many cultural shocks happen there and different way of thought process. And nobody cares what other things. It's about your comfort and be productive. That is very important. Another incident was I was about 2 minutes late for a meeting, for a project meeting with a company. Because in the buses in US, it was a university town called Gainesville in Florida. So the bus is completely free for university students and faculties. So they don't permit a quite number of students more than a limit. So I missed a bus. The next bus came and I got in. I was just 2 minutes late for that meeting. Professor canceled that meeting and he wrote, after hearing from me, he wrote a detailed email to the company people why it was late, what was the reason I was late, and apologizing it, and he rescheduled the meeting. I thought 2 minutes, I made a big mistake. So that even a second has a value there. So he said, Giri, you might have experienced earlier, maybe 1 o'clock meeting is okay for you to start by 1:05. But here, no. So that's why I have to write that. I completely understand your difficulty, but you should have be prepared for that. You could be 5 minutes earlier than being 1 minute later. So those things actually give more importance because that gives your accountability and responsibility for the dedication of that project. Because it was a project proposal, I shouldn't have done that, right? So later things worked out well. I worked for 4 industry projects. I was a key person and being a research scholar there. So that is the accountability because professor believes in not about degree, how long you stayed with me learning the process. So when I stayed there for more than 4 years, then I became the lab main guy who has to take care of my colleagues when the senior left the lab. So that's how it worked. So we had around 48 members in the group and mainly many postdocs, then interns, and many were there. The whole floor was ours. So it was a combination of synthetic chemistry. Katrisky is very well known in heterocyclic compounds and also for peptidomimetics. And when I joined, he told me in many of the personal interaction time, he used to tell me, Giri, if you're staying with me, I understand what I pay might be lesser than the standards. But if you want to grow your CV, stay with me. It's up to you. But I really, really, that time I thought, okay, I have to go move forward somehow. I have taken a decision. But there was many other difficulties also, but he was really supportive. So when I came out of the group, around 33 papers as a combination with synthetic chemists, and my role was mostly on computational chemistry, including design of molecules, quantum chemistry, conformational analysis, and even QSAR, molecular modeling, and others. So we were a helping force for the synthetic people to rationalize their findings or to tell them which way the compounds would be appropriate. And then we were able to patent one of the compounds, and then it was being already commercialized and it is being already gone. So that's where we are looking at. And one of the outcome of the paper from US Department of Agriculture, it is being made as a book chapter for mosquito repellency, which I'll be discussing today. So later became as a founder and CEO, and then startup, right? Startup, it's being completely bootstrapped. So I didn't have too much of investments. Of course, we had an investor from US, but they didn't like the bureaucracy in India we face. Of course, it's not that easy to maintain things. So we started back in 2015, and still we are running actively. So initially I was a single one-man army running the show for almost 1 year to understand how far we can make revenues. So the best way to increase or make revenue for us was to the service industry. So we started initially with the service industry, like software sales, support, training, and other things. We are not a training company as such per se, but we were more focused on software sales and support. But later on, we got into research, and we started doing contract research and also projects. We have few projects already from US and Europe and many others, companies basically, not academia. And we started doing a lot of collaborative works. So we wanted to influence because it's more challenging. So market influence has to gain slowly. So initially my working hours were like 14 to 16 hours, but I ensure my employees work only for that dedicated 8 hours, because for them, I have to prepare something for them to work. So I have to work more. It's a high risk job, but now I'm a bit relaxed in the sense I need not to do homework for them to work. They already got trained and they are working it. But I'm still now focusing more into research now, more into science, which I'll be discussing in a moment. And later, I'm being also nominated by two professors in North, and being appointed as a coordinator for Drug Discovery Hackathon 2020 by MHRD Innovation Cell and CSA and AIC team. So it's going on. There are few things, hiccups, and also we are trying to find out how to solve this. But as I told you, parents, my wife and family was really supportive where we came in from. I hail from Kollam, that is in Kerala, a small town earlier. Now it's okay, and the southmost district that is called Koilon in earlier days. Now it's called Kollam, and then did my schooling and all in the same town. And then this is where I was working as a project fellow in University of Kerala under IGNO, and this is my Indian team in Estonia. Hope many of you might be knowing Yaneshwar, who is now working as a professor in IIT, like BHU, Banaras Hindu University in Zoology Department, and his wife Chandana, and Sandeep is now working with Origin in Bangalore. So you could see many are now returning back to India, right? And we used to celebrate Diwali in Europe, and that's where people. And this is our large group with the Katruski in US in Florida. This was like quarterly recreation, so we all joined with family and get together. And these are my first batch of students when I was a lecturer at Vinayaga Missions. My students, there's a sweet story there. The first day of joining to go and teach my students, so that is the first day for the first years also. There was a student standing, I don't say who is that. He was thinking that I am a junior, and he was trying to rag me. He was asking, where are you from? Which department you're going to? All this thing. He didn't ask me, or I didn't reveal that I am his lecturer. I didn't know that. Later, the first day, first class, I'm going to his class. He was completely blunt and was trying to hide from me. So he was so burst embarrassed to see me that I'm a lecturer and I'm a class in charge for him. It was fun. We were so jovial, and could see many of them are being placed in many places. And Dr. Pavan, who was again was a mentor to me, and he's now the dean of School of Biotechnology at JNU. So we were also working together too much. And when being at Estonia, the best part is that is rather than the research, apart from the research, I should say, not rather, I was being introduced to startup ecosystem. So the startup ecosystem introduced was, there was a startup club, like what you call it as Institute Innovation Council. The same way we had a startup club from the university. So I'm being introduced to many teams. We were able to get prizes, cash prizes from the startup innovation, and was able to present the ideas to venture capitalists there. we were able to get somewhere around 4,000 euros. It's small, but it was a small project anyway. And then this is the Prime Minister of Estonia, where we got the runner-up in the Microsoft Startup Challenge. So we were working on Peer Cloud and also a startup student feedback system, where things worked out a lot. And this were a cultural exchange where we all Indians were presenting about Indian culture, and also we were dressed up in Indian attire. Of course, we made some of the Estonians also to me dressed up in Indian attire. It's a cultural exchange program. And this is Professor Katrowski and his wife, and he has donated more than 1.5 million US dollars to the Department of Chemistry in University of Florida to carry out his professor chair. He has an open access journal, which is called ArchiWalk, and also he has something like archives of a lot of chemical compounds that is being made within his lab. So it was a great honor being working with him. Unfortunately, he's no more. 2014 February, he passed away because of health issues. Right now, this is where I wanted to try finding out the science behind things, what we have to work on. Is there any solution to cure this problem? Because when we still go to pharmacy, what I really like is something to cure the high cost of medicine. I'm sure that who are having continuous ailments people think that, is there a way that we can reduce the cost of the medicine? It's super expensive. So how can we reduce the cost? And mostly it is because of failures of oral drugs. And this I have taken from these two papers from 1988 and 1997. Most of the drugs fail just because of poor pharmacokinetic and ADME properties, and also because of efficacy. I'm talking about earlier days. But currently, things have changed. Currently, the main issue is toxicity, not PK or ADME properties. So people, now current oral drug failures are mainly because of toxicity and also because of the strategy. Maybe because sophisticated tools came and we are not taking the things in the right way. I'm talking about early stage researchers. I'm not talking about the clinical trial researchers, right? So we have to identify where we are making mistakes. Are we on the right track? Are we doing what is really required for a chemical compound to be converted to a drug-like molecule? Or are we just focusing on publications? That's where we have to identify ourselves, how to overcome these failures at an early stage. When you're looking at drug designing or CAD, there are different levels of areas or methods that could be focused, but that completely depends upon the data availability. Now, are we doing that in the right way? That's the biggest question. Do we have a X-ray crystal structure of protein with a good resolution before doing docking? Do we have an X-ray crystal structure of the ligand molecules from Cambridge Structural Database? Most of the time, the answer might be no. You will be using a 2D structure, converting using some softwares to 3D, and then you will be doing docking. What you have to understand here is, when you make a compound in synthesis or lab, there is a X-ray crystal structure geometry for them, conformation for them. And when it gets consumed and binds to a protein or a biological complex, the conformations are going to change. That is called a co-crystal conformation. So the conformation of the compound made, conformation on the biological complex, both will be different. So in order to identify that conformation, that's why we are doing molecular docking. But keep in mind, molecular docking, your protein is always rigid. How can you confirm that is your confirmatory test or that is final? No, you have to make your protein flexible. That's why whatever molecular docking studies you do, you have to mandatorily do molecular dynamics, where you make the system more dynamic and understand whether your drug molecule or a drug-like molecule is still able to stay within that pocket. So this is where we call it a structure-based design. So if your data is not proper, the outcome is also not proper. Let's imagine you have a 3D structure, which is again from X-ray crystal structure. You have a structure, but you tried with all possible ligands, nothing is working out. That's where you go for de novo or scaffold hoping. Now, in this particular approach, if a chemist is not sitting next to you, who are going to synthesize these compounds. No use of telling that this is the score, this is the energy, I got the new compound. Come on, if you cannot make this on lab and you can test it, why you need to simply predict using the softwares? So the softwares are there, but make use of it by putting your expertise into it. Don't think softwares can do wonders for you completely. So always when we do fragment based or de novo, ensure that a chemist is sitting next to you to help you to design. There might be software to claim that retrosynthetic pathway, synthetic accessibility, synthetic feasibility, all things are fine. But a chemist who's sitting next to you only will know what is the fund he has to buy the reagents, what is the availability of intermediates, what kind of reaction could be taken at the lab, all these things to be considered, right? So this is where we have to know where what kind of expertise is required. Now, when you're talking about molecular dynamics, we are not talking about more of chemistry. We are talking more about biophysics. Okay. Now, coming to pharmacophore 3D similarity and 3D QSA, one of the dangerous method that is called QSA. If your data is not proper, whatever activity is coming at the end of the day, it's garbage. That's called GIGO, garbage in, garbage out. So if you're simply looking at statistical parameters on QSAR and you say, I got a model with great R square. Now the question is, what is the biological relevance? What is the physical significance of your descriptors with that particular structure or activity? This is what an experimentalist will ask a computational person. So there is always a tug of war between an experimentalist and a theoretician because their views are a bit different. So we have to see how both can go together. If this goes together, then it is more productive and less failures will be there. Then comes with the combinatorial drug discovery or drug design, where we do a lot of virtual screening, CombiChem, and many more things will be taken care of. So my focus was more working on QSA, but custom protocol. Custom protocol in the sense, coming up with custom descriptors, not the standard descriptors on a click of a button. So for example, I was trying to calculate the relative abundance of cyclization of a chemical reaction. And I found that the distance between the conformation before cyclization, where that transition state comes in, that distance has a major role to understand what is a relative abundance. So I was able to build up the model with a custom descriptor, with a custom protocol, and it got published in a Chemistry European Journal. I could say many are citing it because the model is really reproducible. So that is what we have to see. So when you're creating a model for QSR, you have to see how many of them are reusing it. Until unless reusing it, your QSR does not have any value. So ensure that whatever QSA papers you're publishing, ensure that models are also usable by others. So for example, recently we published 2 papers on QSA and many more other protocols together in that paper. The QSA model is publicly available in my GitHub. You can go there, download it, put your descriptors for your structures, you will get a predicted value. So that is what we have to be working on. So it's not only publication, it's about reproducibility. This is the work that I was part of. Of course, there were other members, many collaborations happened. So this was mosquito repellents. We have to come up. There's already DEET, permethrin already being available as a repellent, but these are having toxic effects on children, young children, as well as on pregnant women. And too much exposed to these chemicals will bring toxic effects to humans. So this was being mainly used for war fighters because they will be staying within the forest maybe, and they have to stay long and they have to stay away from mosquitoes, even bed nets on the uniforms and many others. Might be they need to wash also because there might be a lot of blood being on the bed nets and all. So what is the aim was, we were trying to see when they're washing this, the content of the repellent within the mosquito net shouldn't go away. So we want to look at limited efficacy, tolerant varieties of Aedes aegypti. Aedes aegypti is the yellow fever mosquito. That's where we were more focusing on. Skin irritation was a challenge. There was a possible neurotoxicity for DEET, plasticizing action on polymeric materials, and relatively high cost. So our aim was to come up with some other compound which is having the same effect of DEET but not having these challenges. So we were able to implement many methods computationally, and later the assay was carried out to understand minimum effect in effective dosage, MED. So literally we have to insert our hand, applying the repellent on that particular opening, so that because the human temperature attracts the mosquitoes to come and bite you. So but there will be a repellent here, we want to understand that. So we will insert a hand after having all these gloves and then fit it into the box full of mosquitoes. Anyway, I'm not going detailed into it. A paper is already being published in PLOS One. You could able to read that. But my current research objectives is that we wanted to identify chemistries with optimal balance of properties. For example, where I can identify a chemical compound very much early, where it is potent, that means good binding affinity. It is safe. I cannot have a best safety, but at least acceptable balance of safety, that means toxicity. Good absorption rate in human intestinal absorption, then proper stability on metabolism, because it passes through P450, cytochrome P450. So I have to ensure that the compound does not break down, and having a good solubility and flexibility. All those things factors to be carried out. So my whatever research areas we are working, we are looking at these particular objectives, and also quickly identify the situation when such is not possible. If I'm whatever the compounds that we are working on, if it is not possible, drop it. Simply digging what is not going to reinventing the wheel might not happen. Of course, we try to optimize it, but if still it's not working, crush it, work on the next one. So the best mantra what we come to entrepreneurship and business, we have to understand: fail fast, fail cheap. If you early identify this is not going to work, you're going to save a lot of money and time. You can focus on something else which is more productive. And only when confident you move forward. If you're not confident, if you're thinking 50-50, keep it away and then work on something is more confident. You work on the other one which is less confident, maybe later when you have time. So prioritize things what you wanted to do earlier, and avoid missed opportunities. You did something, you did not apply the right method or right applications, you might miss getting the right things. So you have to master yourself from experience what should be the correct opportunity. The current area of focus with me is basically aging. So we have already published 4 papers, of course, this year, and we have been working since 2.5 years to get these 4 papers already. 3 papers again under review. So we were waiting for all the work to complete to a single short publication. So that's why we started publishing since May. 3 more to come. So we submitted on reviews, initially got rejected, and the same journal we submitted another work, they got accepted. So different wide of experience is happening, and I could see that now people are understanding the importance of why we wanted to focus on aging. Basically, we are if I'm to be very specific, I'm more targeting on longevity on Indian population. There are many one working on US population also, and few other specific countries. So in India, I'm more focusing on longevity with Indian population. The challenge here is non-availability of Indian specific data for certain factors. So I'm talking to medical colleges and hospitals to check with the data. Of course, ethical committee approval is there for sharing data and to make people understand what is their policies, because I am aware of the data sharing policy, but even the other people who are sharing the data also should be aware of that, because we need anonymized data, which is very, very important for research. So that's where we are focusing on currently. That is main area. So if you ask me daily, of course, some way or the other, we are working on it. But later I thought, which I have to, during my studies itself, I was focusing on science for society. What can you do that? What I have to do? But I can say that I want to, like, what to say, discover a drug, but it is too ambitious. I myself cannot do it. There are many group of people required, a lot of funding required. So I cannot do that. So what I thought is to make awareness, to tell what is the right method, at least in the level of students or young budding researchers, to start with the right thing, because I started might be in a wrong method, because we learn from seeing from some other publications or from tutorials, but sometimes it is not the right one for our research. The tutorials works best for the tutorial molecules, but might not for our molecules. So I started creating contents. So I started preparing a lot of slides, which is there in SlideShare, and a lot of technical videos, mainly specific questions. For example, do we need to really optimize our ligand molecules before docking? Or do we need to really minimize a protein structure before doing docking? Some software require it, some doesn't require, but we need to really understand, is it really required or not? And then many of the students used to tell, I'm a bit reluctant to command line. I don't know Unix. I don't know what script to be done. So I started creating workflows and models using GitHub, as well as Jupyter notebooks. So published molecular dynamics for GrowMax in a single notebook. So you need not to search for the commands. It's everything is there. Only thing you have to understand what each step does and goes on. And recently published a modeler. And today I will be launching the advanced tutorial for modeler for multi-template modeling. So many things. So this is going to help at least people who are feeling that I cannot do anything. That will be a motivation to them. Okay, this is something easy for I to good start. So what I realized, basically from my experience, if you get a start, you will go on. The initial kick starting is the problem. So I'm trying to overcome that, so that help people to do that. And I'm also happy that we are, since 4 years, we are doing a self-paced internship. Of course, they come here and do, but it is a self-paced. We are just going to support them. So this, we have a very good responses, and interns are getting placed in very good places based upon the work and what the knowledge that they are able to get it. So I'm happy that almost 42 students finished internship with me. So I love talking. I love go on presenting, and I love taking feedbacks, because each presentations I learn things from the questions and I update in the next. And this was one of the large audience. I was talking about my Marie Curie related project, fellowship related project. Being involved in a lot of networking events and sharing diets with many well-known people. I don't know how many of you know John Irwin, who is the developer and maintaining Zinc database, and also Doc6 docking program. And I don't know how many of you know Valdemar and the person behind Pass Server. I'm sure many of you have used Pass Server. So, and he is Professor Matti Carlson and Kaido, who was my mentors in University of Tartu and my early mentor and teacher during my MSc studies. These were interacting with the Nobel laureates and also the committee members earlier days. Of course, a little bit of more of hobby and social activities. So I was being known as a Gator Baba in University of Florida, where we did a skit, something related to that. And this was really encouraging to me. I never did this in my life. So I was able to do a wall climbing, kayaking, and do a lot of biking nowadays with my Bullet, and long journeys too. And I was very much closely associated with Asha for Education, where we collect and get donations, and we fund for girl or women upskilling in India. So we send the money from there to India. So almost yearly we used to collect around $32,000 US dollars. I think now it might be more. I'm talking about something 6-7 years back. And we used to do a particular stall during the football match in University of Florida, Gators match. And we also shared this particular fund, all this to Asha for Education. Now coming to a little bit more about a few of the questions I came over. I hope I have some more time. Yeah, I'll try to finish within 12:15. So data and analysis. In earlier 1973, imagine this, 1973, it came up in a random walk in science. Don't just sit there. If you have processed all the data, there is, go out and find more data. When I tell this to my interns, they said, oh, sir, still should I take more data? Come on, whatever data you're collecting, it is going to go on adding up. There are old might be wrong, new might be wrong. You have to process it, understand, is this data is relevant for my research or not? Too much of data is there. My interns used to come and tell me, sir, I found a wrong mistake in this day. Should I write to the author? I said, yeah, we can, but what is the point? They're not going to write a rebuttal or a reversal. Anything can happen. For example, one of my paper, when I got published, Professor John Dearden from Liverpool University wrote a public saying that it was these mistakes are there, and we were able to write a rebuttal because that is made official, right? But that criticism helped me to give a paper along with that professor. So I have a paper in chemical toxicology with the Professor Dearden, Liverpool University. So that is the positivity in criticism. So that's what I said. People who say no to you, that's where I thank them a lot, because he gave me an opportunity to work with him together, right? So that is what we have to look at. And few of the opinions that I got from some of the interactions in Twitter. I'm a bit active in Twitter on getting some surveys and others. So where do you prefer to do your higher studies? And it was surprising to me. I could see that people said they want to do higher studies in India, about 31 percentage. And you can see followingly which country they wanted to do one by one. And how many votes? There were around 200 and let me check. Yeah, 278 people participated in the survey, and 31 percentage told that they wanted to do their higher studies in India. So things are changing. If you go abroad, get the knowledge, get the good things back here and share it with the young minds, either through entrepreneurship or through academia or maybe research. It could be anything. And the basis of choosing master's or PhD, future prospects getting employed, you have to understand the topic of interest, what you wanted to achieve, what is the social relevance, if any, and what are the commercialization possibilities. When you come to commercialization possibilities, you're converting your project or your idea or your research project to a company. That is called spin-off. So you have to, when you're designing a project, you have to think of topic of your interest, not about the market interest. Maybe there, but when you're talking about commercialization, see, I'll be talking about that in a while. I'll leave it there. When you're coming to employability, be a good learner. You never stop learning. Be a good presenter and a teacher. Until unless you present, you will not realize what you missed, or when you're a teacher. Within India or abroad, it's up to you. It's your choice, it's your passion, or it's your dream. Teaching or research or consultant or innovator all has its own role here. You need not to be an employed in a big company. You can be a consultant to your science, your thoughts, and your findings will get you money. Commercializable patent. For me, see, usually what we say, publications are to showcase and share the research findings or even negative findings to others, where they can reproduce it or they get to know. Patent means usually commercialization, to make money. So don't think that publications and patents are just to build up our CV. Now, maybe you might get for your promotions or something else, that is depends upon specific criteria of employability. But personally, patent means earning money because you want to commercialize it. And with publications with great follow-up is required. If I say I am working on this area, as I said, there are around 7 publications coming up, lined up in aging, where we worked on. That is a follow-up work. So then we can say, yeah, I am working on that area. That is my area. Because how long you worked in that single area, if there is something good outcome, then we say, yes, this group is concentrating only on that area. So you need to have a great follow-up if you're working on research. And you also have to understand demand versus challenging. Are you going for challenge-based problems, or are you going forward with demand-based problems? That's where you have to choose. Prospects of choosing a cross major in pharma. Basic science and its importance is always a key criteria that you have to consider. Whatever high level science you talk about, You should never forget the basic science. That's very, very important. And also it's challenges to meet certain job description. Don't think that your CV will fit into every job description. No, some job description might require something different. So you have to closely look at the job description and see whether you meet it, and reflect that in your curriculum vitae or your covering letter. Relate or justify the choices. Yes, you have to relate yourself to that particular choice, or justify why you really a good asset for that particular job. If you're not able to justify, they don't get convinced by seeing your letter, I mean covering letter. Supporting myself during studies. Yes, nowadays it's a good, tremendous amount of earning money, like a small pocket money while you're studying, even in abroad as well as in India. In India also, you can do online teaching, even through Udemy. I know many of the PhD students are doing that, and they're earning money, of course, yes. And then there are other check and many more other platforms where you can earn money when you are doing studies. So country specific part-time jobs and earnings are there, but teaching assistant, research assistant within the universities, then testings and volunteers, independent consultants, arts and culture, freelancing. If you're a good writer, yes, of course you can get, if you have a good voice, even for podcasting you get paid. Fellowships, scholarships, and many stipends now in India also being available. Are scholarships useful? Yes. Prestigious scholarship most cover most of the expenses, airfare, relocation, insurance, accommodation, course fee, extra. To be honest with you, when I went to US, I just took from my home, the cost is only for my visa and for my flight ticket and my initial 15 days of my stay in US. That's it. Rest of the thing, I was able to get my stipend, right? And when I went to US, I was able to get my Marie Curie fellowship as well as Estonian Academy of Sciences fellowship. So I didn't take a penny from my home. I was able to repay. So scholarships are really helpful, and it is going to support you a lot, because I know the burden when you take education loans, because I have also taken education loan during my master's. So during my master's, it was very difficult because I couldn't get a loan properly because of many other reasons. So one of my dad's friend, his name is Apsara Rajan, he who helped us as a guarantor to get the loan for an education loan. So I cannot forget all of them, because they all helped me to whom I am now. Maybe something now, not much now. So it will be an added value to CV if you get some scholarship. So how to approach? Talk about science. Don't simply ask for scholarship. Is there a job? Can I get a fellowship? No. Talk about science. Automatically the scholarships comes. Compile your research proposal. Take much care in research proposal. Don't do copy pasting. Plagiarism is a big issue. Whenever you submit any document, the university or scholarship agencies first check for plagiarism. If it is plagiarized, the application is on trash. So please be careful. Don't do plagiarized. Statement of purpose. Don't copy paste. Write yourself genuinely. Recommendation letter. Again, don't copy paste. Talk about the real thing. Not only positives. Talk about negatives. What is a weakness? Because the weakness will not say that you are not going to get the job. It is trying to be how honest you are. I mean, not you, the person who writes a recommendation. Upskilling or higher education for career growth. Yes, it is very much required. Still now, I am also upskilling, because some of my clients require something on Python, something on machine learning. Even the QSC or whatever we did machine learning, we didn't call them as a machine because we use support vector machines. I have used random forest. I have used genetic algorithm during my PhD days. But we didn't call them as a machine learning because nobody gave a big damn importance there. But now everywhere, whatever we talk about statistics, automatically it is AI or machine learning. Too much of hype. So you have to upskill yourself to meet the requirements, approaches, kind of data analysis required, and updated knowledge. You should keep updated yourself, even though you don't know what about it. Tomorrow, to start a conversation, you require that. And also, don't confuse between what I like and what I find easy. Always think that what you understand properly is what you find easy, and what you find easy is automatically what you like. You will just recollect for who all mathematics was very hard. Why it was hard for you or difficult? Because maybe you didn't understand it properly, right? Or the way it was being taught, some way or the other reason. But some people, They know whatever problem you give, they can derive. For example, even though mathematics is my favorite subject, but I was very good at differentiation and integration. That was my favorite. I go on deriving. But if you ask me linear algebra, it is very bad for me. So some people say, oh, come on, linear algebra is very easy. Why it's hard for you? So that is the level of understanding which makes you find it easy. Dream high, work smart, but be proactive. So don't take things later. Foresee before, both negative and positive, and work smarter. The future depends on what you do today. Very, very important, and it has given a good example for me also. The complete future depends upon what homework you're doing right now. Nothing will do work unless you do. So we always imagine, I will do this, I'm planning to say this, but unless you start doing or kick starting what you have to do, nothing will work, right? So you have to start doing that. Don't wait for the last minute. Start doing it. And now what is next? We are in the era of Industry 4.0. Lot of expectations, lot of new technologies. We are talking about Internet of Things. We are talking about AI. Now, for bio and pharma also, there's a 4.0, where we are talking about drug discovery research, cloud-based simulation, model outcome testing, reliability, collaboration, mobility-driven. And when you're going for clinical and preclinical trials, supply chain management, manufacturing operation, even marketing and sales also has its own importance. So we are going in the era of Pharma 4.0. So be clear and crisp what you have to get ready for tomorrow's employability criteria. As per 2019 Times of India survey, they came up saying with a shocking number, 86% of the engineers in India is not ready for future jobs. I purposefully removed that slide from this slide because 2020 survey has also come, but I did not get access to the complete report, so that's why I don't want to include it here. Now, am I ready for the future? Yes, you are if you follow these. Graduates with the right attitude and aptitude. Very two important terms. Attitude and aptitude, very important. Keep in mind. Communication. See, communication means it's not that you speak English very well. That is not, for me, communication skill means. Communication skill means you need to know the empathy. You need to know when to pause. You need to give chance for others to speak. You have to be a patient listener and respond as per the topic. Don't deviate. These are called communication skills. Then individuality. Raise your behavioral traits, which makes you an individuality. So people identify you. Critical thinking. Your questions makes others to think, yeah, he's critically thinking. He has done some homework on brainstorming and he's asking relevant question, which is going to help us to think about something to outcome. Collaboration. When you collaborate, you have different views. I don't know how many of your students are doing group studies. I have done group studies during my 10th, during my +2, as well as degree. After that, no. But during that time, that collective learning helped a lot. People who doesn't know one program or problem, the other one who knows is going to help them to understand it. So collaboration makes you to learn more things, and you are not a one man just doing everything. No, you have multiple people to do multiple tasks together, and you come together to make decisions. Etiquette and manners, very important for a team. As a team, you're working. Accountability and responsibility. You have to take the accountability. If you're a leader leading the project, you have to take the accountability. I don't know how many of you know the real story of Mangalyaan, right? The boss there or the leader who took the accountability of the failure that happened to the initial things and all those things, right? So we have to be accountable. Work-life balance and priorities. Many students even interns used to tell me, sir, I have issues in prioritizing my timing because of this current everything online, too much of college things, projects, and personal, social, everything is getting affected. So it's all messed up how to prioritize my timings. Come on, you have to put up charts in your room, try to see which one is more important and less important. So you have to prioritize things and then maintain the work-life balance. Career building. To make my next step in my career, what I have to prepare. And finally, it's all the skill set. What all skill set you have to focus. Don't overdo everything. What is only required. So work-life balance is something I give a more importance, something very important to make you stress-free. Unless until you are stress-free, you cannot be productive and be focused. So work-life balance is very, very important. Simply working and getting things done is not going to make you productive. And keep updated with technologies, challenges, and also success stories, including failures. The current generation, I don't want to generalize, and excuse me for that. A lot of stories being heard that they are not able to face failures. Understand about others' failures, how they faced. When you understand the failures of others, then you will see that your failure is somewhere very tiny when compared with the others' failures. So that's where it gives motivates you. Okay, this is where I am learning. Like Jack Ma used to say, Alibaba's founder, you can make mistakes being you're young, like 25 to 35 or 30, because the mistakes helps you to experience and learn many things. After that, you have to understand and implement it. But between 40 to 50 years of age, you have to be really productive. But after 60, relax for whatever money you made, if you have made. Some, they don't still relax, they go on working. Like we have many Indian leaders like Tata and many more who are still being at that age, being very active. Okay, so that's where you have to understand how they overcome those failures and also the success stories. So finally, to conclude, focus on converting your information to knowledge. There's a big difference between information and knowledge, right? So you have to start focusing on converting your information to knowledge. Learn, try, you might fail, but try again and you might further succeed. Upskill yourself, get hands-on experiences, prove them by applying it on projects. Simply learning, no choice. Simply getting certificates, no use. Apply it somewhere. Then only you will really understand how these things are being really getting problems. What are the challenges that you're going to face when these techniques or approaches being applied on a project? No one to give you a project. Take a self project to learn yourself, and then put it in a GitHub or somewhere. Protocols for scientific things, protocols.io is there. Put up it there. I did this, I'm able to find this. These are the glitches you have to overcome. And finally, you have to understand it's not about where you do. But in India, I cannot say this. It also depends upon where you do. And it's not, and it's all about how and what you do. That is very, very important. You have to register your individuality there. So that's all from me for today.